this tournament, if you ask me. GENG back on the blue side, T1 back on the red. The Nico gets banned away again by GENG, but this time they're going to ban the Rumble with it. Over on the T1 side, two of the same bans that they banned in the first phase in Game 1, the Pantheon and the Varus, they're going to stay there. The only one missing is the Vi.
Yeah, the Vi Poppy trade is kind of prime real estate right now with the Annie gone. I really do think that these junglers are going to be the priority. The question is, though, like, do you necessarily want to prioritize the Vine knowing that that Poppy is open? And so that means that for GENG, what is that first pick going to be? We know we've seen Galio be very valuable, but mainly as an answer into the Rumble. So now that the Rumble's gone, do you consider taking the Galio away in this series game so that you can potentially increase the value of Rumble later on in the series?
Yeah, it will be really interesting. Azir going to be the final ban here. We have to see how high is the Vi priority going to be in this series. Are they willing to actually lock it in? Instead, it is going to be the Ryze, and I do prefer, we've seen a lot of Ryze versus Ahri Vi, and I really do kind of prefer the Ryze side of it, simply because you naturally become so tanky with the builds that we are seeing that it is very difficult in the later stages of the game, even with a good engage, sometimes to be able to burst down these Ryzes, because we're just seeing Roa, Archangels into Zonias. So your time where you have to get ahead is pretty limited. Like, you really have to be able to push the pace in the early game to actually focus down this Ryze.
I think that for T1, they should avoid picking their jungler right now. They should even consider their bot lane. Well, the reason why I was going to say
I believe they disagree.
They do, in fact, disagree. I was going to say because they could save their jungler for third pick and then see what comes through from GENG and then either respond with a Poppy, or if a Poppy does come through, you have things like the Trundle. But instead, they really value the team fighting power of the Wukong, even with the Annie gone. I wonder if they do pair it up with the Ahri that you were just talking about, Azale.
I also think denying Wukong from being Ryze's partner is a big goal with this pick as well, because a Realm Warped Wukong into the backline can be a serious threat.
So we saw Faker playing the Corki yesterday, so it could be mid-Corki. They kept that flex potential open until very late in that draft, and then they did lock in, I believe it was a Xayah pairing with it for Guma to then reveal that it was going mid lane. So this absolutely could be a mid lane Corki here for Faker. Was very effective on it yesterday. Now the question is, do we have matching roles? Vi has been very high priority in the LCK. And is going to be prized very highly once again here for Canyon.
But you could see the stats came up on the screen. 6 wins, 10 losses here so far at MSI. Very popular pick, but not necessarily a high win rate.
Not a high win rate, but you know what Canyon's win rate is on this split? 100%.
Okay,
and that's a little bit higher than the win rate of other people.
In that context.
So you can say Vi not performing that well, and I would ask you the question, was Canyon playing it?
All right, fair enough. You know what? Fair play.
Good counter argument.
Yeah,
that would hold up in court.
You're like, I tried out the Vi, it wasn't that good. I'm like, are you Canyon? You're like, my mistake. I apologize.
The flowchart, the classic flowchart.
Easy stuff. We do have the Scion locked in for Keen there in the top lane. So 2 unstoppable ultis here for the front line of GENG in Game 2.
I mean, we haven't seen, with things like the Gwen gone and the Jax gone, we haven't seen many carry answers into things like Scion. Normally we see some sort of tanky response. We could potentially see something, oh, never mind, we're seeing a Galio locked in, and we have to assume that this is going into the mid lane.
It could also be potential support, but I do think it is more likely that it is going to be in that mid lane. Sometimes you can see some of these kind of aggressive pairings. You know, Galio does do a decent amount of damage in the early levels, so sometimes I have seen pairings like that Corki Galio down to the bot lane, but we are kind of operating on the assumption that this would be a Galio in the mid lane and Corki for Guma.
I mean, Galio Wukong is also a very nasty combination. Wukong goes in, first knock-up from Cyclone, second knock-up is Heroic Entrance, third knock-up is Cyclone 2. You're just getting juggled around with very little chance to respond. Very powerful combo in the scraps, as we do see double 80 carry bans from T1 in the second half. The Kai'Sa and Xayah banned away, while GENG are getting rid of one of those potential carry top laners that could be played into the Scion. They don't want to see Doran's Mbessa.
Yeah, and both these bans here for T1 make a lot of sense. Kai'Sa obviously as a pairing with the dive, and Xayah as someone who can actually survive the dive. The other option, if you are looking for something that is defensive, we have seen Senna. Jhin obviously is already gone, and then Ezreal. Those are kind of some of the ones that I do think can both work well with and against dive. So those are potential options here for Ruler. And again, you know, even more ability to flex things around. Like, this could be Poppy support, this could be Poppy top. Like, there is a lot of flexibility here with the T1 draft that is keeping things pretty spicy, honestly.
It's always the question of, are they cooking so hard that it's insane brain and like they've completely outdrafted, or have they cooked a little too much? Because the question
have they outdrafted their opponents or themselves?
Exactly. That is ultimately the question. Sure, Poppy can be very good into the Vi specifically, and I guess you could argue that by prioritizing these other bans, T1 have opened themselves up to get this potential counter. GENG just rounding things out with a little bit more scaling. The Senna in the bot side of the map with follow-up engage from the Nautilus means that they've got good CC, good front to back, and good late game insurance.
Yeah, I actually really, really like it. As you said, good front to back does help, with the dive. You're sending in that Vi, this eye on the Nautilus into the back line here, and it's going to be Camille in the top lane. Doran had a spectacular performance, I remember, from playoffs here, in the MSI qualifier, stole an Otacon away with the primed Q3 on the Camille, was really sick. So it will be Poppy support, it will be Faker playing the Galio mid. But again, Ruler on 100% win rate Senna, Canyon on 100% win rate Vi. I mean, GENG wins a lot, so they have some pretty good win rates, but I feel like this comp for GENG is absolute comfort.
I was really hoping we'd have a little bit more time to talk about the potential Camille, because we were just kind of fishing about it, looking at the potential picks that Doran could go for Azale, and then just like that, he slams it. The moment that fifth pick was available, they lock in this Camille. Galio Camille, I mean, this combo has been around for so long in League now. It gives you so much backline dive access, and we thought that GENG's composition was about the dive. Well, T1 said, you know what, we'll do you one better. You try to dive us, not only do we have ways to dive back, but we've also got the Galio to assist with the dive or to provide peel. And it's going to become a question of which AD carry can survive the longest, because those two will be the main targets in these crazy team fights.
And I talked about some of the success that obviously the GENG members were having on their champion pairings, and Doran has won all 3 of the games that he did actually play on the Camille this split, including that one that I was mentioning, from the MSI qualifier run. It is definitely something that he is comfortable on, pairs really well with the composition like you were talking about, Vedius, and answers tanks well because of the true damage that everyone knows about. As you're scaling into the game, you really can still threaten these tanks with the true damage on the Q3. T1 already got the early lead, going to be looking to try to push us to match point here, but GENG with a classic GENG composition that can play through side lane for Chovy, that can have Ruler on this scaling champion. Looks like it's going to be a tough recipe to beat.
All right, Team Runes on your screen again, and once more, just like game number 1, it supports with Summoner's Spellbook, but as we wait for the action to start here on the Rift, Lore is standing by for an interview with Pobelter and Lorlo.
Absolutely. Some familiar faces here with the crowd. How are you guys doing?
I'm freaking excited.
So you were leaving the mood, the atmosphere here during game 1. How was it being with the crowd?
It's great. I mean, I think most people in the crowd are rooting for T1, so when they won, everyone was really excited.
Who are you rooting for?
I'm T1 fan for sure.
Okay, T1 fan. You were telling me that you think T1 has the better draft. What are we looking at here?
I'm mainly looking at Faker's Galio. It's an OG pick from him, and they have the Camille dive comp. Honestly, I'm looking at the Camille and Galio combo.
Pobelter, any comments on that?
I think GENG is the better draft, actually, because they have 4 bruisers. Everyone besides Senna is really hard to kill, and they have low DPS on T1. But T1, I mean, Faker Galio just has, like, plot armor or something.
All right, let's see how this one goes, guys. Thank you so much. Casters, over to you.
For anybody who might not remember that plot armor he's talking about, remember just last year at the World Finals, Game 5 against BLG, Faker's Galio surviving in impossible situations. This guy is so good on this champion, and we will see if he can pull it off here against the GENG comp.
The beauty of hearing both of them talk about the draft just goes back to what Azale was saying, with compositions largely being amplifiers rather than definers, and it's just great to hear that converse opinions about the draft, the strength and weaknesses of both sides, and ultimately with the teams of this caliber, it's going to come down to execution.
It absolutely is, and it's always something really funny to me when I would do interviews with coaches, and I talk to both coaches, and both of them are like, yeah, we absolutely crushed the draft. These other guys didn't even see any of our picks coming. It's embarrassing. And then you go talk to the other coach, and they're like, can you believe they picked that? That's terrible. Like, what were they doing? And so even at the highest level, people have such diverging opinions on what is more important. Is it scaling? Is it side laning? Should you be playing for engage? Should you be playing for champions that have early dominance? And so it does make it so interesting, and it makes drafting so difficult for these coaches, where I feel like they've been able to shine more than ever because of Fearless and because the complexity has been ramped up in the draft so much as a result.
And we've also seen teams struggle, especially in those game 5s when that pool really does get pinched. Of course, we're a very long ways away from that. But Sion, so far at MSI, it does feel like few teams have found effective answers into the champion. He feels so stalwart in his matchup. He feels so safe, just the way that he passively generates HP and becomes this immovable force. Doran already feeling that pressure in the early lane.
Exactly. I mean, it has a lot of AoE wave clear. You can actually be an early lane bully. You scale very well. Like, he is just a strong champion. But these two teams are incredibly familiar with each other. They have matched up so many times. This is T1 versus GENG this year. T1 winning the 1 series, GENG 3. But as you can see, the game score quite close. And Owner heading down.
Yeah, we've already got a lot of damage there on Gumayushi, however, below 200. Keria rooted up here on the front line. Again, that passive from Duro. The Nautilus's ability to lock down these targets means Ruler gets more firing time.
And I just really love how GENG is actually playing out this 2v2. You can see that it is even fleet for Ruler. So what they're doing is just constantly taking short trades, chipping and poking away at Guma, and then just utilizing the sustain of the Senna to be able to get those HP positive trades. And Ruler, just like with his Lucian, so good at the pass-through Qs. He's always trying to shoot the Q through Duro, heal himself, heal Duro, still hit the enemy. And it does make it so Senna can really kind of grind you down. It is not a champion that you hit one hook and you just kill someone. Right. It is really about the slow advantages that you can build.
All right, Gumayushi already swapping up here to top side. We see these swaps from bot lane to top pretty often, especially on champions that want to go for something like an early tier or like an early call. You're happy to take the base as soon as you have the money to buy that item and start stacking immediately. And oftentimes the swaps favor the team who swaps first. You end up earning yourself a tempo advantage with that choice.
Definitely can, but Ruler up there pretty quick as well. Did go for the Swifties, so it's going to be running straight up. And Swifties obviously helps to keep you safe, but also one of the really overlooked things is it just helps you to stack. You can actually close the gap a lot more easily. Your Q has the slow. You can get in for that second auto to be able to grab an additional soul. There's so much of the power here of Senna, especially with these modern builds where people are going Shiv rapid fire. You need the AD from souls to actually have any sort of a punch behind your autos.
Yeah, immediately though, Keria ready to keep on scrapping here, but Duro and Ruler do a good job fighting back. Similarly to game 1 though, we're seeing the same type of farm difference between the top laners. Keen out to an early lead in terms of his control over the minion waves. Every time the observers have put the camera over those two, we've been seeing him landing the decimating smash charged up enough for the knockup. He'll use beautiful hook from Duro. Gumayushi with a flash. Ruler trying to follow as now Keria's the next target. Another shot goes through him. He shouldn't be low enough to die, but he is low enough that he has to flash away. GENG in the 2v2 coming out on top.
Really nice punish from Ruler and Duro. That hook, I mean, that felt illegal, I'm not going to lie. Weaving between Keria to connect onto Gumayushi means that they force them back. Trade of flashes between the two AD carries could open up the junglers to set their sights on the bottom lane matchup, but it's T1 to initiate the swap once again as Duro actually TPs towards the river. GENG starting off the drag.
Yeah, Duro TP down, Keria did as well, so both those supports getting down there. Duro just trying to cover, make sure the Canyon cannot be contested, and he cannot. And I've got to point out, Ruler stacking very quickly here. 24 stacks here. He already had, you know, by the time he based around 6 minutes, 33 is the average by 14. He is going very, very quickly. We're not even halfway to that point, and he is stacking up at a ridiculous clip.
Yeah, that could be a big problem when you look at the fact that T1's composition is 4 melee characters. If Senna's range becomes the entire screen, very difficult to deal with her at all.
And this is one of the problems, Senna, I love playing this champion. When you play a melee champion that can't hard engage on the Senna, it is just free stacking. Champions like Braum, champions like Tahm Kench, champions like Poppy, who can't just threaten 100 to 0 like with a Nautilus hook or a Blitzcrank hook. You just step forward. Every time they go for a Targon charge, you're just going to be able to actually get a stack each and every time. And it really does allow you to accelerate. So Keria has just been kind of free stacks thus far for Ruler.
I will say that hasn't stopped Keria from constantly forcing these fights, but I think you're right in that it's only really benefited Ruler as this bot lane from GENG has continued to come out ahead. Right now, it is GENG that have that small gold advantage with the dragon secured. 20 seconds until the grubs spawn. You have to imagine that GENG will look for it.
Immediately, though, Engage coming out from Keen down here on the bottom side. Remember, the Goma Yushi has no flash. Keen just going in, beats him over the head with the hammer. It's a solo kill, first blood for the Gen G top lane.
It's the bossy special, the solo bolo there on the Scion, not to be underestimated. Knew the summoners were down, finds the angle and just knocks down Guma. And now there's no one actually answering him, so he's probably going to get a plate or two. At least one plate has already fallen. Owner, though, trying to answer on that top side. Carry's behind them.
Yeah, Carrier wants to make his angle into the fight, and there's the heroic entrance. The Wukong Galio combo deletes Ruler immediately, and the second cast of the Cyclone mows Duro down. T1 respond with style.
That was beautifully executed by T1. Ruler given no opportunity to respond. Of course, he didn't have his flash from the earlier skirmish between the two AD carries, but the way in which T1 collapsed on that kill, they did it with ruthless efficiency.
I mean, that was just so clean, honestly. They see Keen solo kill on the bot side, not to be outdone. Guma could be in trouble.
Yeah, a lot of danger there. The Dawning Shadow doesn't hit him, so critically not low enough towards that 0 HP mark as Canyon forces Owner back out of the grub pit. It's still two grubs over the side of T1, though. Doran ready to go in, wants to chase after Canyon. Faker and Owner dealing with Duro off to the side as another Nimbus strikes, ready to set it up with a Justice Punch, knocking him up into the air, and Owner ready to knock him right back down. Feet of Warfare, 3 kills, T1.
Yeah, Faker even able to donate that over to Owner, who now passes Mako with 1,110 assists internationally for 5th all time. T1 also should be able to grab that last grub if they want. They're not heading straight for it. Owner did win the Smite fight.
Now, Keen is here. I think that's the big problem. The Scion making his way back up towards this half of the map as Doran is ready to escort Keria away. And just so much credit to Keria with the game sense to be in that tri-bush to begin with, to start the play off, to initiate onto Ruler back when this first started, what feels like a minute and a half ago, and set up that play for the T1 Wombo combo. It earns them that feat of warfare. It earns them the grubs, 2 out of 3 of them at least, as Canyon does pick up the last.
And you can see Keen setting up a large freeze on the top side. So Doran is going to run back. Will lose about a wave there just because of this. These small things do add up over time. You know, building that experience advantage. You can hold this wave forever as Scion. It's not going to be an issue. Of course, eventually, you know, he will be breaking it with that Bomby Cinder, but nice to deny that full wave of experience and gold from Doran.
Ian feels monstrous right now, and it's Guma who's had a lot of the pressure thrown towards him. Dying in the 1v1 definitely doesn't help. But admittedly, he's still ahead in gold for now. He does have a farm advantage over Ruler. I think T1 getting that kill back onto the center was very important. But Azel, you were keeping track of the stacks earlier. He's already at 36, just short of 11 minutes in. And I mean, Ruler is by far and away ahead of pace.
Way ahead of pace. I mean, the average stacks at 14 is 33.7 here at MSI. So, of course, he is already a couple above that with 3 minutes to spare to meet that clip. And generally speaking, the faster you stack, the faster you continue to stack, because every 20 stacks, the range goes up. It gets easier and easier and easier to hit and collect those souls, and Ruler is doing an incredible job at that so far. And Chovy going to be able to get out to those side lanes now, of course, working in towards the Roa and the Archangels.
This could be a play for Gen G, though. Keen going to start it off here after Doran interrupts the hook shot, and Canyon's ready to show up to seal the deal. Keen started walking away, I think, trying to give the kill to Canyon, but still ends up taking it himself. So that'll be a Scion 2-0 now. Keen set to be a big brick wall for Gen G.
T1 on the cross map, though. They will equalize the Dragons. Chovy wisely tries to push out that bot wave before Faker can respond, so he's going to be safe on the weak side. Going to start moving through his bot side jungle as Canyon even steals away the Raptors. So Gen G looking to be as proactive as possible after securing that kill, and they actually swing the gold back to neutral.
T1 now only one objective away there from claiming the feats. If they can get this Herald or the next Dragon, it would be theirs. Of course, if they can grab a first tower before that, also would be theirs. So Gen G gonna have to defend these pretty hard.
One big thing that just came online here, Trinity Force plus level 9 for Owner's Wukong. This is a big power spike for this champion. Considering Owner has been a part of all of the kills so far here for T1, I expect them to be confident for any play they want to look for now with him hitting this big power spike.
I mean, Keen as well, you're looking on the other side. He is the gold lead for Gen G. And this guy is going to become a brick wall. There are 4 melee champions over on the other side, and You know, it is going to be very difficult to actually fight past Keen and to ignore him in these fights to try to get in towards the Senna, in towards the Rise, which is going to be the job that they have to accomplish.
And the current game state for him, this window where he has his first tank item fully completed, which has a lower price point than the very expensive Trinity Force, it's so obnoxious for Doran to try to deal with on that Camille, just with Trinity pieces into the Sunfire Aegis, as that individual gold lead for Keen is almost up to 1,000. And you can see Doran tries to kick him. He does more damage to himself because of the immolate, as now this could be a nice catch. Duro slammed to the wall by Keria, forced to get away there, trying to not give away too much HP to the T1 ambush.
Losing both summoners ahead of Herald is going to make a potential contest very difficult for GENG. Chovy and Canyon hovering on the bot side of the map. Faker has that spidey sense, though, is aware of the possible collapse. Canyon is committed to the play, though. He's hovering around. It looks like Faker is not expecting this.
Okay, let's see if the Galio can get away from it. Faker does have his flash. He'll just use the taunt to make a little bit of space. He barely takes any damage at all. Now Keria and Owner are ready to show up. There's no counterpunch available, though. Chovy and Canyon can make enough distance. They've got Duro coming up behind them. Neither side gets a whole lot of anything as we look back up at the top lane, and it's the same story one more time. Keen has control over the 1v1 matchup.
Yeah, I mean, Keen is just looking so strong right now. Doran just trying to get enough gold for a Triforce before he bases, because he doesn't want to TP back without it, but he is getting so low.
With the turret, Doran almost wins the trade.
I mean, he's in dive range now. He's got to be so careful. If Keen hits him with an ult, he's going to die.
Keen walking forward, but runs out of minions before he can continue to posture more aggressively. You can see Duro walking up to this topside river. The Herald is going to spawn in 20 seconds. The Scuttle Crab is also about to spawn in the top river. This is very important to try to control if you know that Herald fight is upcoming. Faker now trying to deal with Keen's Scion that has stacked mostly armor, as Keria and Gumayusi are going in. Ruler under a little bit of pressure, but he roots up Guma. Fires back with a little bit of damage as Gumayusi continues trying to escape. Has to flash. Doran's made his way into the back line. He wants to go after Canyon. Owner engages here with the Cyclone, followed up with a Hextech ultimatum with the Dawning Shadows ready to back him up. Canyon staying alive, but T1 gets the kill, and Gumayusi gets paid.
A close exchange, but it's T1 that get themselves the kill onto Canyon. Guma was forced to flash very early because of his positioning. Oh, a bit of danger for Doran.
Doran, rune prisoned up immediately, flash over the wall from Duro for the dredge line. Doran down means GENG now have the opportunity to make an aggressive move. You can see the blue pings coming out in this topside river onto the Herald pit. Canyon is now back on the map. He's running up towards the objective, and the rest of GENG are happy to start this up.
Yeah, this is going to be so big. I mean, not only do you deny the objective from T1, but it almost guarantees you the first tower as well. You can see the top lane tower is already a little bit low. So is the bot lane one. Keen has had the push non-stop. And as a result, this could mean feats of strength go the way of GENG. We'll see if they can actually claim it. They would need first tower plus one additional objective. And they definitely have the edge for the first tower.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what makes this so fun. T1 have already claimed Feat of Warfare. First tower should, by all measures, go over to GENG, and they're both at 2 neutral objectives, which means this next dragon, spawning in just 30 seconds, has even more importance.
It's also Faker. We haven't talked about the fact he is solo AP, so he is going to be building pure AP on the Galio so far. He already has the Leandries. Going to be likely building in towards a Zhonya second is what I would expect here, just to be able to go in for those aggressive plays, flash on the back line, have that stasis to stay safe, because they need to be able to pressure Ruler and Chovy in these fights, or they're just not going to have success.
Braun finally ticking over to level 11, but also that Leandry's just doing wonders into all the HP that Keen has built for himself, meaning that these side lanes are a little bit more favorable for T1, even if GENG still generate this pressure. The Dragon is now alive. It's T1 with fantastic vision coverage around the bot side of the map. The contest for that mid-wave control is there as Canyon threatens to shadow Chovy, looking for a pick.
Yeah, Doran trying to make sure that he doesn't get caught out here. Not too worried about Chovy's rise with nobody else in range to back it up, but it is still the bottom side river control that belongs to T1. Already, they started up the Drake, they've pulled it out. Owner taking care of that one alongside Gumayusi as Doran's just gonna get dove on. It's Canyon ready to start it, Chovy ready to finish it. T1 have lost their top laner, and GENG get the job done before the Drake can be claimed. That means GENG now automatically take control over the river. T1 is forced to retreat, and the objective will go to GENG.
T1 win a fight in mid lane, but GENG find a pick onto Doran. Bot side of the map, T1 have priority over the Dragon, but GenG find a pick onto Doran. Their game plan is very much to punish this Camille at every opportunity, and it is working. They now lead in Dragons, they secure that feat of warfare, and they are so close to securing the first tower of the game.
And I just think it's so intelligent because the Camille is such a core piece of this composition. It's not just about a 1v1 or anything like that. A lot of their success depends upon Doran being strong enough to fly into the backline here with Owner and Faker's ult over the top to be able to knock down these carries. And they're putting Doran in a spot where he is just constantly on the back foot. GenG going to be able to take this tower, you have to think, no problem. They don't even have to use the Herald to do it. And that is fantastic. That is going to be the feats of strength there for GenG, so they get the upgraded boots. They have the side lane advantage here for Chovy, and they are looking really strong.
And remember what I said last game, feats of strength with immobile carries just feels that much better. When you look at Senna, when you look at Ryze, they're both just running. And now GenG can get them where they need to be even faster. 1,500 gold lead for the LCK #1 seed. As Keen will face check into a brush. I don't think he's ever really worried about doing that. We'll see though if T1 can punish. They try to unload onto the tank. Keen ready to flash away as Ruler's trying to back him up here with the Dawning Shadow. Tons of damage onto the Scion. Duro makes his entry into the fight. Keen's gonna die, but now his dead body's ready to go. T1 try to disengage. GenG looking to fire back, but they won't find a
Here comes Duro.
just yet. Ruler's got the first kill into Owner as Faker tries to get away, but the Justice Punch will find no escape. A double kill to Chovy's Ryze as Doran and Gumayusi barely hobble away. Canyon doesn't want to let him, and he's still looking for a little bit more. Doran and Gumayusi barely getting out of that one as Canyon still seeing if there's an opportunity here. He has the ulti if Guma sticks around, but he won't. He bounced over the wall. He gets back to the safety of the base. The fight for GenG as they are so hungry for even more.
This fight started by their blue buff. It ended in T1's base. Absolute insanity there as Duro even hops into the Herald, gets 3, if not 4 knockups driving through the entire T1 team there. They did knock down Keen, but it took them so long. It took them so many resources and so many players to be able to do it that it bought time for the rest of GenG to arrive and turn around that fight.
I think you summarized it perfectly, Azael. Once they'd used all those resources, they were forced to retreat, and GenG just hunted them down, pick after pick. A healthy gold lead is now what they sit on as the fight for the Scuttle Crab. Ooh,
Doran takes it. Keen might be really hard to kill, but he's not a very effective crabber at this point in the game. 887 bonus HP on this Scion though, and it takes forever to bring him down.
So it comes back to what Azael was saying. All of the focus comes down onto Keen. Exhaust was used, he flashes away. There's that multi-man knockup, but they eventually get that kill. But at this point on the re-engage, GenG's in the better position.
Exactly, and Duro, he gets chunked out of the fight. He realizes, you know what? I can still be involved. Look at this, drives through everyone on T1. Let's count the knockups. 1. He hits 2, he hits 3 as well onto Keria and Doran. That was crazy. We're on Otacon though, we're gonna keep going.
We're already back to live and the Otacon's halfway dead. T1 want to try to contest this as GenG have control of the area for now. They full send it. They want to go in after Doran, but they can't find enough damage to kill him here at the very start. T1 with a counter punch, but nothing just yet. Duro the first to die. Owner's gonna try to get himself back away, but Faker's already down. Owner will follow. GenG 2 for 1, and they don't want to stop just yet. Chovy sends himself to his own death. And Gumayusi into the back, looks for Ruler. He finds him. T1 turning it around. Keen, the last man standing on GenG, and he wants even more. The shield ready to proc. Gumayusi ready to drop, and it's a bloodbath in top lane.
Keen is big man on campus. He will not be knocked down, but what a fight there from T1. It looked like it was going to be all GenG, but they got a little bit too excited, went a little bit too aggressive. The early part of the fight went fantastic for them as Doran goes in on Chovy, gets chunked down incredibly low from the focus fire, and Ruler is just kiting it out alongside Chovy. With the carries unthreatened here from GenG, I was thinking this was going to be a slow fight, but it was going to be theirs.
And Keria's Poppy knocking Keen out at the very start of the fight makes it look so advantageous, but then Chovy goes in too deep, and T1 is quick to punish.
And what happened there? Keen thought he was in the realm warp. He stepped just barely out of it. He was too far. He thought he was on the very edge. So Chovy thought he was going in with the Scion. He shows up by himself, gets burst down, then Guma flashes onto Ruler, knocks him down, turns around what could have been a disaster there, but tiny differences. If Keen was in that realm warp, it could look pretty different.
And the biggest takeaway from this fight is Keen is the raid boss in this game.
Yes.
T1 will need to find a way to get through him. And you can see the Corky damage. I want to guesstimate that about half of that went into Keen.
Yeah, he did about as much damage as the two highest on GENG put together. Duro looking to go in here with the dredge line. There's no follow-up damage from GENG just yet. Faker's getting juggled around, but he's still got a little bit of HP, ready to go, flashing out. Gumayusi in danger, dawning shadow! And the sun sets on Gumayusi as Faker is running towards the other side of the map. He's got backup nearby, but GENG are on the hunt. Can they find anything else? Will they overextend? No, they're going straight after the Otacon instead. Doran, Owner, and Keria all nearby. Faker still with a grand entrance to try to join up if he wants to, but it's all 5 from GENG here with the objective.
They don't have Gumayusi here. Oh, that
Keria, he wanted to find the Keeper's verdict to try to make it a fair fight, to try to give T1 a chance, but they won't get it. A nice flash to dodge that potential ulti as now Doran gets found out. Keen doesn't hit him with an estimating smash. Duro still walking over here with the Nautilus. The ulti's not available, but Vise is immediately into the dredge line to follow. Doran's gonna Hex Tech ultimatum, but the only ultimatum is you're getting out of here. GENG, 13 kills.
It all starts with Chovy finding a TP flank behind Gumayusi to find the AD carry isolated and convert it into a pick. When they knew they had the numbers advantage, they forced T1's hand and started off the Otacon. Great map play, great pick from Chovy. GENG firmly in the lead here in game 2.
Yeah, I mean, they're just looking so strong, and with Doran, the focus on him, he has been put so far behind, it doesn't feel like they have a true second threat. It's pretty much Guma versus the world. Like, his damage is the only one that seems like it's doing anything to Keen right now. Faker, of course, is building AP. He has the Riftmaker as that second item.
Yeah.
Owner's on 2 items as well, but it's just not going to be enough to ever threaten Keen.
I mean, we've been talking about Keen as the raid boss this whole game, and certainly that is the role he's been playing. But the largest individual gold lead in the game, Chovy is nearly 3,000 ahead of Faker. He has 4 kills, 6 assists, and plus 60 farm. He's got his Seeker's arm guard and both of the trademark Rise items fully stacked.
And Ruler 80+ stacks, and they have the sustain here, so they're feeling confident to start this Baron.
And Owner is exactly the target they want. The T1 jungler dead before he can blink his eyes, and GENG make their way to Baron.
Keen just choo-chooed straight into Owner. There was no way for him to escape. And with the jungler gone, this becomes a very challenging steal.
Okay. Keria doesn't have Smite right now. I'm looking at the scoreboard. The Baron's down to 2,000. GENG backing away from it. Keria with the Smite ready to go. Yes, Smite going over the wall, but it's still going to be claimed by Canyon. T1 will lose their support. We'll lose the Baron. We'll lose Gumayusi. We'll lose control in game 2. 6,000 gold lead, GENG.
Keria tried to go for the steal for the Heroics. T1 know this game is quickly slipping away from them, but Canyon outsmites him, is able to grab it and secure that.
And again, another kill on Doran after the fact. This Camille picked late in the draft. This Camille, so important for the comp. 2 and 6. There's not a single man on GENG who's not ahead of his counterpart. Game number 2, they're in total control.
I mean, Ruler's closing in at 100 stacks here. This is ridiculous how quickly he is stacking up. GENG feel like they have this one pretty much wrapped up. It was the late swap over to Smite, and GENG realized, okay, there could be a contest. We got to back it out. But then T1 just decided to go in. Keria flashes in. Guma goes in. They full send it to try to burst it down. Ooh. It is smoked down from about 1,100 HP. This was not the upgraded Smite for Keria, so it had to be lower. I do believe it upgrades based on how many times you swap to it with the spellbook. And I think that was his first Smite swap. And now he's on it again here. So this would be an upgraded one. And they're going to need to try to steal this dragon away because it is Ocean Soul if GENG get it. T1 obviously already up against it. But if you give Ocean Soul to a Scion this far ahead, you're never killing him.
I mean, look at how tanky this composition is. Nautilus, Vi, Rise, Scion. You add a little bit of Ocean Soul Spice in there, you've got yourself meatball soup. There is no way that T1 will be able to punch through it. They have to realize that. It's 25 seconds until the Drake spawns, but the bottom side river is totally controlled by GENG.
GENG just continuing to exert their pressure on the map. They know that this game is theirs. T1 getting a little creative as Oner creates a flank. He's trying to avoid the vision, staying in the darkness, and he's not yet spotted.
You know, if you don't fight Ruler, can you even hurt anyone, right? Like, there's stasis and everything. Oner's finally going to be spotted now, and they could just look to try to pincer him. Chovy's not afraid at all.
Yeah, Oner did a great job playing around the fog there for a little bit, but once Vi targets you with the ulti, the clone can't save you. Chovy on a rampage. T1 jungler dead for 45, and the Dragon's alive. Ocean Soul for GENG.
An easy pick for GENG. A slippery play from Oner. But it's the MasterCard priceless moment. Dragon Soul secured. Keen with the dive.
Immediately engages on Doran, and Chovy's ready to follow. Doran is sent to Rune Prison, and Chovy is the warden. GENG keeping the push going. Oner still dead for another 15. Doran dead for more than 30 seconds. A Baroned up GENG making their way into the T1 base with a 10,000 gold lead. With a Dragon Soul, they've got their sights set on the Nexus itself. GENG continue pushing forward as Keria tries to dive after Chovy. Keeper's Verdict ejects the Rise, but the Dawning Shadow reinforces GENG health bars. The first Nexus turret still stands as Guma tries to get some damage back, but Keen is simply too tanky. T1 finally have their jungler back alive, and with Doran about to respawn, they're thinking about trying to find something here on GENG, but they're so strong, they're so tanky, they've got so much regen, but T1 still thinks they've got to try something here. Doran goes in. He wants to go over the wall and find Chovy. He does, but Keen prevents any backup from arriving. Faker with a grand entrance, but it's only for his own exit. Doran is already down. Faker's about to follow as Keen is not even dented. Still damage from Oner, but nothing worth mentioning. A double for GENG. It's only Keria left, and he won't last long. One last shot from Ruler rules out any chance of a T1 stall, and GENG march it into the base.
Exceptional protection as T1 desperately tried to find something back, but it was not enough.
Nexus turrets are just a formality at this point. GENG with the tanky comp strikes back in game 2.
It was absolute comfort there for GENG in game 2, and they showed why some of these champions are undefeated. It was perfection from Ruler here on the Senna, stacking it up. Keen, a massive difference maker. He just took over early. It's over to the desk to find out what they think.
Well, Chovy couldn't let that happen 2 games in a row. GENG fights back, and we have a special guest on the desk to talk about